Welcome to Ms. Taylor's Algebra Note videos. So today we're talking about multi-step equations. It's just combining everything we've learned so far this unit into one problem. So the first thing we are always going to do is we are always going to distribute first if we see parentheses. After that, if we see any terms that we combine, we're going to combine them. Then we move the variables to one side, constants to the other, and then multiply or divide by the coefficient. So let's get to some problems. So I've got a -2 next to my parentheses, which tells me to distribute or multiply. So the number in front of that x is 1. -2 times 1 is -2. The x stays with it. A -2 times a -8 becomes a positive 16. And then I'm going to bring down the rest of the problem. So I'm looking for terms to combine. I don't have any terms to combine, so now I need to add or subtract the variables to one side. So I'm going to add the 2x to make it positive. I'm bringing down the 16. 4 plus 2 is 6x, and then I'm bringing down the -8. Now I need to move the constants to the other side. The 16 is lonely, and it needs a buddy, so we're going to bring the 8 over to join it. 16 plus 8 is 24, equals 6x, and then our final step is to divide by our coefficient. So we get 4 equals x. All right, so this one's a little bit more complicated. So we're going to draw that line down our equal sign to help us out. And now we've got a parentheses, and we have a invisible number and a negative next to our parentheses. So that invisible number is a 1. The trickiest part about this problem is this 3. We have to make sure we write down the 3 before we multiply, or else we're going to end up forgetting it. So a -1 times 3x is a -3x. A -1 times 5 is -5. So now I need to combine like terms. I have 2 constants on this side, so I'm going to rewrite my -x. 3 minus 5 is -2, and I'm going to write that after my variable term. So now I need my variables on the same side. I have a lonely x, so we're going to bring our 3x over to join it. So a -1 plus 3 is going to get us 2x, and then we bring down our -2. And our last and final step is we're going to divide by our coefficient. So x is going to equal -1. All right, so this is probably the most complicated problem that we have today. Give me 1 second to fix this setting to make this a lot easier for us to understand. Okay. So we have 2 sets of parentheses. I'm going to go ahead and draw that line down the middle. It's just going to make things way easier. I've got a number right next to my parentheses that I need to distribute and multiply. And again, I have that invisible 1 next to the negative that I also need to distribute and multiply. We cannot forget this -8. So the first thing I'm going to do is write down that -8. 5 times 2 is a positive 10x. 5 times 1 is a positive x. A -1 times -7 is going to become a positive 8x. -1 times 9 becomes a -8. And again, we have to remember to bring down that x at the end. So on the left side, I have 2 sets of like terms. So I'm going to bring down my 10x, and a -8 plus 5 is going to be a -3. And I have like terms on the right side as well. 8 plus my 1x is 9x minus 9. So now I need the variables on one side. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 9 from both sides. So I'm left with x minus 3 equals -9. And then our last step is going to be to put our coefficients on the same side. The -9 is lonely, so we're going to move the 3 over. So, 3, not 9. 3, not 9. So we end up with a -6. And that's how we do that. We just have to do it step by step, little by little. And again, same thing here. We need to distribute the number and its sign next to the parentheses all the way through our problem. We cannot forget this 9 here, so I'm going to write it down first. A -5 times a -1x is going to be a positive 5x. A -5 times a -6 is going to be a positive 30. And then we're just going to write down everything else on the other side. I need to combine like terms. And so I get 35x plus 9 less than negative 1 minus 5x. Yeah. I want my variable terms on the same side, so I'm going to add the 5x to make it positive. We get 40x plus 9 is less than negative 1. Our last step is going to be to get our constants on the same side, so I'm going to subtract 9 because my negative 1 is lonely. 40x is going to be less than negative 10, and then our last step is to be divide by our coefficient. So x is going to equal a negative 1/4. All right, thank you guys.